The Bengals have hired Zach Taylor to be their new head coach. First of all, I love Zach Taylor. He spells his name Z-A-C the same way I do. Zach Taylor is the former Rams quarterback coach. He just finished with the Rams in the Super Bowl, and he's a quarterback guy. Zach Taylor played quarterback at Wake Forest, and he finished his career at Nebraska. The guy understands quarterbacks. And my main question when I heard that Zach Taylor was being hired by the Bengals to be their head coach was, is Zach Taylor being hired by the Bengals to help Andy Dalton, the Bengals' current quarterback? Or is he being brought in to move on from Andy Dalton and bring in a new quarterback and build a new franchise around a different quarterback? That's what I want to know. Because I'm not sold on Andy Dalton. If I was Zach Taylor, I don't know how excited I would be to tie my future, to tie my success and my employment to the abilities of Andy Dalton. Because if Andy Dalton sucks, you lose your job. And I don't know that I'd be comfortable with that. Just a note. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe he believes in Andy Dalton. Maybe he thinks he can help Andy Dalton. It's very possible that's his thought process. I have no idea. Now, Zach Taylor's 35 years old. And personally, I don't care at all. If Sean McVay's a young coach, young coaches is the way the NFL's trending recently. Young coaches are not a problem. They can win in the NFL without a doubt. However, Zach Taylor is a risk. He's never been a head coach before. And I think that, in this case, taking a risk is really good. The Bengals haven't taken a risk in a long, long time. They've had their head coach, their former head coach, their previous head coach, Marvin Lewis, was in Cincinnati for 16 years. He was incredibly mediocre. In that time, Marvin Lewis had 131 wins and 122 losses. He never won a playoff game. Maybe, and he might have with Carson Palmer. I don't want to say that. I just know with Andy Dalton, he's 0-4 in the playoffs. But the thought process with the Bengals is you can't do the same thing every time and expect different results. At some point, you got to change something. That is what the Bengals finally did. But again, I want to note, I'm not sure that Marvin Lewis was the only problem in Cincinnati. I'm not a big believer of Andy Dalton. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Zach Taylor completely turns around Andy Dalton's career. That would be fantastic. But you realize the Bengals have had options. They've had really, really good players on their team for the last couple of years. They had Joe Mixon as a running back, Giovanni Bernard, another good running back, Tyler Eifert at tight end, A.J. Green. The Bengals have had weapons, and Andy Dalton has not been able to succeed at a high level recently. He's never won a playoff game. Andy Dalton is 0-4 in the playoffs. That's concerning. It's not a number I want to hear, and so I'm not convinced that Marvin Lewis was the only problem in Cincinnati. Now, it's worth noting the Bengals have hired the Raiders quarterback coach, Brian Callahan, to be their offensive coordinator. They're also reportedly trying to hire Jack Del Rio to be their defensive coordinator. Jack Del Rio is a great, great idea. I hope the Bengals can track him down and bring him onto their franchise. Jack Del Rio has a lot of experience as an NFL head coach. He's been a head coach for 12 years, 12 seasons in the NFL, 9 years in Jacksonville with the Jaguars, 3 years with the Raiders. Look, he's not had a great career. He has 93 wins and 94 losses. He wasn't a big success, but he's had really, really valuable experience. A comparison I can think of when I think of the Bengals' current plan we appear to see is I compare it to the Rams. The Rams have a young, offensive-minded head coach and an older, veteran defensive coordinator. That is what I think we see. We're going to see a similar prospect, similar idea in Cincinnati. A young offensive head coach in Zach Taylor and a veteran, savvy, experienced defensive coordinator in Jack Del Rio. I think that's a great, smart combination. I think experience really matters. And if that's the game plan for the Bengals, I'm on board. I can't wait to see it happen. I hope Zach Taylor can revive Andy Dalton's career. I think, Jack Del Rio is a good hire, and I cannot wait to see what happens in Cincinnati. Oh, I hate doing this. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I really don't like self-promotion. It makes me feel like a used car salesman, but I got to do it. So if you don't know, this is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the world. And you can subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can find it on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube. You can also find shorter breakout clips like the one you just watched. Please do me a favor. If you like anything I had to say, maybe you hate me and you're mad about something, share this podcast with your friends. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. Help me grow by telling your friends about this show.